today's Super Bowl. I didn't expect this many people here today at this Mass. I said to one woman, I said, wouldn't you rather be home and prepare for your Super Bowl party? And her husband came to minister at the 11 o'clock Mass, so he was home preparing for the party. Then another woman came up to me and said, Father, can you make the Mass a little faster so we can all get home for the Super Bowl kickoff? So we'll see what we can do. I think it would be a super duper Sunday if the Cowboys were the ones who were playing in the series today. The Bible uses many different symbols for sin: lameness, deafness, blindness, even leprosy, as we heard today. This is a third of 4 miracles that we hear about in Mark, which we've heard in the last few weeks. Last week we heard about Peter's mother-in-law, how she was restored to health and got up and began to serve them. And today we hear about the leper. Took courage to even go to Jesus, to tell him, to ask him to heal him, since the pain of leprosy was isolation. And lepers were known as social outcasts because they were contagious and cut off from human society and interaction with other people. And they even heard, as we heard in the first reading, how they had to ring a bell and yell out that they were unclean, so warning people that they needed to stay away from them because they could get leprosy also. Just a touch of Jesus healing the man and restoring him back to good health for his family, friends, and go back to his regular life would have been a miracle for him. Touching a leper was forbidden, of course, since it was such a contagious disease. But Jesus showed compassion, and the leper had faith. And notice what the leper said: "If you wish, you can make me clean." And Jesus answered, "I do will it. Be made clean." And the leper was clean. We can think of St. Francis of Assisi, who also tried to avoid lepers in his day. But later on, after his conversion, he went up and hugged the leper and even helped and worked in a leopard colony after his conversion to help the leopards to go closer to Christ. Today's readings tell us also about the horror of sin and the mercy of God who forgives us. Sin we could think of as even a worse degree than having leprosy. We heard a larger description of leprosy in the first reading, describing again the physical separation. But also we have a similar physical separation of sin when we separate ourselves from God, that spiritual separation that can cut us off from God and the church. So sin you could think of as being even worse than being a leper. In the gospel, we see how Jesus showed mercy and cured the leper. He doesn't hesitate to touch the leper, which I'm sure the leper wasn't touched for maybe a long, long time. He also reached out and touched him with mercy and forgiveness of our sins when we go to confession. We are reminded in the second reading that whatever we do, we shall do for the glory of God. And that's our call to be marked with holiness. There are many definitions of sin. Most commonly is a disobedience of God's commandments. What it really means to miss the mark. We may not have leprosy, but we all need God's mercy. Today's reading reminds us to come to the Lord, to cry out for him for help. And when we miss the mark in failing to do what he asks us to in sin, then Jesus is there to help us and to guide us and to heal us. Who may be the lepers of our society? And these are the ones that maybe are excluded from our society or we don't want to think about. A few examples may be the homeless or mentally ill people, or those in nursing homes or hospitals, or elderly or widows or handicapped, or people on the streets, unemployed. Many other discrimination against other people in our society. Our parish has many organizations that we help in many ways to be able to help those that are excluded from our society. And we're very blessed to be able to help so many organizations just in our own community. These people may be a challenge to reach out to. We're called to reach out in friendship and understanding, to love and touch them like Jesus did, so they can be part of the community again, like the leopard was able to be part of the community. And Jesus told him not to tell anybody, but he was so excited because he was finally healed that he could go back to this family and things, that he was telling everybody. But it made difficult time for Jesus, because then he couldn't go to the towns again, because all these people would be flocking around him constantly to ask for healings. How are we leopards ourselves because of our sin and missing the mark? Jesus is there for us when we do miss the mark. Jesus so wants to reach out and touch us, to cleanse us and give us forgiveness, reconciling us also back to the community. And Lent is that time of reconciliation. Beginning next Sunday, we'll be having the first Sunday of Lent, wearing the purple vestments, reminding us of coming back to God through our prayer and fasting and almsgiving. So the sacrament of reconciliation may be our first step to come back and to know and to be with Jesus more fully in our lives. Let us continually cry out to God with confidence and in love, being willing to reach out and touch any outcasts that we may see, with the same love and acceptance that Jesus had for the leper. Today we celebrate World's Day of the Sick, a day where we remember those that are sick, that have illness and feel far away from God. And we also celebrate the World Day of Marriage, so that those that are married, we can celebrate that they have somebody there to be able to help them and lead them and guide them and help them, both of them, to grow closer to God, to be forever in heaven.